Hi, welcome, and happy 4th of July. My name is Kathleen Hudson, and I'm your guest host while Eric is in China. Today, my guest is Harsh Agrawal. Welcome, Harsh. What are you going to teach us today?
Hey, Kathleen. I think, yeah, today we'll talk about how we can use photo to create some luminous watercolors. Yeah, so let's see. We'll get into it.
Awesome, that sounds great. So without further ado, let's start the show.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
So as you can tell, I'm not Eric Rhodes, I'm Kathleen Hudson, and I am thrilled to be guest hosting this week. Thanks for joining from Monday on, and today, of course, is July 4th, so I decided to celebrate by calling in somebody from England. Anyhow, I'm thrilled to welcome Harsh Agrawal to the show. He's talking about how to turn a photo into a luminous watercolor painting. And here's a chance to look at a few of his works. You can, of course, go to his website and follow him on Instagram, and we will drop those links in the comments. But take a look at some of his work. I'm especially impressed by his nocturnes. He's able to create this fabulous glow in nocturnes. And of course, those of you who have painted in watercolor know that that's no easy feat. So hi, Harsh. Welcome again to the show.
Hey. Oh, it looks like I already switched to my other camera.
Yeah, you're good.
Thanks for having me here. Yeah, it's good to be here again, actually. And it's a bit of a last-minute setup, but I mean, I thought I would pick something. Actually, I was painting out yesterday with one of the 𝗶𝗵 groups here, and we went to the park, and it's been really hot here in UK. And so I thought we could probably take a casual scene. So there's just a picture from my phone. It's probably not the best reference, but at least you have some nice things going on here with shadows and things. There's geese, there are people walking in the park enjoying the summer, because no one wants to be inside like me today. So
yes, well, sometimes the photos that don't have a whole lot of detail or power make the best reference photos because they force you to be creative. So I'm excited to see where you go with this.
Yeah, I've actually, I think you can see a picture on screen, but I have this here printed. Yeah, I'm kind of just staring at it right now. I think some of the things this is actually a park near where I live, and I enjoy walking down this road. But I think some of the things that I enjoy right now is obviously the shadows, double light. There's these geese walking, the people walking around, and so I think it'll be cool to capture the atmosphere of the scene and kind of focus on areas that are interesting, because there's lots going on within the scene. So I might actually pick and choose some of the elements that that could benefit us. So yeah, let's get going. Actually, I might grab a piece of paper and try to sketch something out of it.
Do you always do a sketch ahead of time?
Not really. I think the painting that I'm doing is sketchy, but I think it's easier to kind of get some of the concept, and I'm trying to articulate what I'm thinking. So apologies if I keep stuttering a lot, but hopefully. So, well, the main thing that I'm thinking of is I definitely really enjoy this mama geese with a baby geese walking down the road. So I might, here, like if I just think about getting a gesture down of the geese here, and we can use this in our painting, something like that, where one of them, they're walking, and then you have these two people here who are staring at them on their walk, which happens a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think I'll do is I'll raise the horizon up and kind of delete. It's too much of all this texture and foliage, which it's kind of balanced on both sides. But I feel like I enjoy the dapple lights and this kind of road kind of leading through the park, and you can see a bit of these atmospheric kind of window almost cutting through these verticals, which could be really cool. So I might raise the horizon up and then add these people right over here and some small geese and things. Trees. I do enjoy the trees here cutting through vertically. It probably doesn't, it looks like scribbles, doesn't it? But yeah, that's kind of, yeah, something like that, if that, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Got a nice strong diagonal. That'll give you a chance to paint some really good shadows.
Yeah.
With the higher horizon.
Yeah, exactly. And we can have fun with, that's what I also am now trying to get more into the traditional British style of painting watercolors, where it's more luminous. I recently visited one of my favorites, 𝗟𝗵𝗵 who does amazing watercolors. He's a legend. And I saw how much he almost like high key paints and glazes his shadows and things like that. So, let's also try to be more experimental and fun as we do this. It might not be like a full-on painting, but at least you'll see the approach and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think we'll keep it even higher a bit, the horizon. When I do horizon, obviously I try not to keep it dead center. There's all these rule of thirds, golden ratio and all that, which you can calculate, or you can just make a line, either way. Some of these vertical trees and things I really like. I might move it a bit to the side. I do want to establish this path coming forward. I'm compressing it more sort of towards the horizon, not as vertical as it is in the picture. So I'm actually angling it up a bit, as you can see here. Oh, look at these lovely trees. The branches and the shapes in the trees here are just amazing. That's something which I can get lost into, doing all the branches and foliage, but I'll try not to. And the trees here in Kew Gardens and Going Around Britain always reminds me of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Whomping Willow.
Such willows, and yeah, it's something, not even oaks and things. I don't know. They very majestic. There's like 3 of these trees here. I think I'm just gonna make one of these, and then kind of allure. There might be some other, but you can see when I'm sketching, I'm kind of doing very loose drawings right here.
And do you find that reduces any impulse you would have to try to fill in the lines later on? If you're still keeping it loose and fresh all the way through?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes while painting, I would also, even though I've sketched it, I might paint something that might suit the painting and not really adhere to my sketch as much, which I used to do a lot, but I feel like paintings became more stiff. So here I'm kind of drawing these people, and you can see I'm kind of more focused. I'm holding my pencil like that. Usually when I'm drawing like this, very loose. But then when I go to my focal point, I just switch my hold, and now I'm kind of more focused. So yeah, just casually adding these people and our lovely geese. Not to make it bigger than the people, because that would be scary. Yeah, something like that. I mean, just a suggestion of it. I don't want them to take the entire scene, really. I mean, it's still part of the whole park and stuff. There's a nice slope here and some verticals coming up. There's also more sort of people in the distance, which I might hint to over here. Kind of resting. There's this one big tree. Yeah, I think I might move the tree a bit over here. Yeah. And some of these nice sort of branches kind of drooping down from top, foliage and other things. More and more branches. I'm gonna keep it very loose and almost create this kind of like window I suppose that could work. Some lines, another tree going down here. Maybe there's a person resting under the tree, maybe a picnic or something. Yeah, you see a lot of those. Yeah, there you go. There's another bit of this vertical line, which I'm tilting it a little bit. I'm trying not to make everything super vertical, sort of designing, giving it a bit of rhythm in design. There's this big trunk which is casting shadow. I'm debating if I should put it in or leave it be and just keep the shadow from it, which could work. Yeah, actually, yeah, why not? Let's try that. And if we don't feel like it, we can add a tree later on in the painting process. So for the foliage, I guess, I never know how to handle it. I usually splatter paint and hope it works. So that's usually the case. But one thing, you can see this mark that I made here is kind of like, oh, this is going to be a dark mass. So I'm just kind of like, oh, this could be a bit of a dark mass and some darks here cutting through. So that would also enhance the light kind of seeing through the, in the distance, the atmosphere and things. And there's other like small bits and bobs here. There are other geese and more people. Probably add one more person here. So it looks more alive and active. Park, summer day, and not kind of like when no one's out in winter and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, this could just be a very, very large sort of foreground with some nice dappled lights and shadows and things like that. Okay, that's good. That's good enough. I mean, I think, yeah, we can get painting, or we'll never reach to it, to be honest. So
excellent. Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your substrate, some of the pigments on your palette, your brushes.
Oh yeah. Are you able to see the paints on screen?
Yeah.
This is actually my palette usually doesn't look like this. It's very actually, hold up. I'm gonna show you. I just swapped this new palette that I just made, and so that's why it looks very sort of clean colors. But this is what I'm used to working with. So.
Oh wow! And lots of nice grays with that, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. And now I feel like I have to keep mixing, and it's just so much work, and I don't want to do work. So. One sec. Well, yeah, it's so old that it's stuck now. But this is the palette that I used to use, but it's a bit heavier, so I made like a lighter version of the palette. Because it's metal, it's like a thinner metal, and it kind of fits the edges perfectly and doesn't flow out.
And but you made that yourself?
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, in terms of colors, I would say how I've organized it is I keep my blues here, so it goes from ultramarine, cobalt to cerulean. So it's kind of, you have your cooler dark blues to sort of warmer yellow blue like cerulean, and then it's going into cooler reds like alizarin, rose madder genuine. That's one of my favorite paints. Some sort of red, orange, going into earth colors, burnt sienna, raw umber, into warm white and lavender, which are slightly more on the opaque side. And then we have lemon yellow, lake, cadmium, any kind of warmer yellow, and then raw sienna. I'm not too peculiar about some of these pigments. Like I would also squeeze multiple, like, yellow lake, Hansa yellow, cadmium, and I would just squeeze. But for me, it's just like a warmer yellow. And then this is more like a earthy yellow. So that's kind of how I place my colors. Okay. And yeah, I'm usually not this neat. You can clearly see all the colors. Usually it all appears to be gray, which is easier, especially when you paint in England, because no matter what color you pick, you have to paint gray anyway. It doesn't matter.
That is true. Did Trevor Chamberlain have a pretty similar palette, or did you actually get to paint with him, or just stop by and say hi?
No, he's not really painting much anymore, but yeah, it's his palette is a mystery to me.
It's an honor to meet him, though. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I kind of wish to be painting as long as he did. He does.
Yes.
I mean, he still does. I mean, but you can see I'm kind of making this like purpley thing, and I'm neutralizing a bit with some sort of raw sienna, and then I'm also mixing some blues and things over here. And over here, I'm taking pure raw sienna. And then on the bottom, I've added a tiny bit of rose madder to make it slightly redder version of the same color. I'm usually mixing colors on my palette and keeping it ready for the wash, because during wash I don't want to be thinking about. I mean, I would still tweak my mixes, but then I'm usually evaluating what's on my palette, and I can make it slightly warmer, cooler, or does it need to be green, and then I keep shifting and adjusting temperatures and other things as I work on my palette, but at least I have that initial sort of mixes to go with, essentially.
That looks
Okay.
great. It looks like it harmonizes so well, and I'm sure it's helpful to see that on the palette before you even start painting.
Yeah, and then you keep going into similar pools, so naturally, even if you know, when color bleeds into each other, there is a natural harmony, I guess. But but usually I have like one kind of color or pigment that runs throughout the painting, or I would, like in this case, I'm seeing a lot of green and pink. I dread painting greens, but here we are doing a live demo, so not the best idea. Here I'm taking a bit of lavender as well, and this is slightly opaque, as you can see.
Yeah.
And then I'm warming it up with some raw sienna and that sort of stuff. Okay, so actually let's paint. Yeah, we haven't even started painting yet. Look at that. So now I'm just applying some water to the surface. And
is that, what paper do you use?
This is a cold press paper. Are we allowed to say brands? I don't know.
They usually try not to, but yeah, cold press is helpful to know.
Yeah, but I like to experiment with different kinds of papers and things. So it's not, you might find I also use different kinds of brands, rough as well, sometimes hot press. And also with cold press, it's like if you use a thicker like this, is probably like 300 GSM versus 600 GSM. They actually have different textures and stuff.
Oh wow! Is that a sable brush or a synthetic?
𝗂𝗺𝗵𝐺 sable, yes. Very, very expensive. Why am I using this? Oh, now I'm nervous.
Don't mess up.
No, sables are great. I love. So
here,
what I did was I kind of like.
Ago.
What's that?
I said I had a bunch from like 20 years ago, and now I'm hoarding them.
I know, I feel like I want to collect them more so than use them. No, sables are great. They hold a lot of water and shape. But then I've been using this like other Chinese brush, which I've been enjoying quite a bit recently. I'll show you in a bit. Adding a bit of blue on top. I don't really want to show a lot of the sky anyway. So I might actually add some greens right here. And you can see I'm doing a lot of mixing on the paper and letting sort of color bleed into each other. Keeping very sort of soft and wet into wet kind of things happening on the paper right now. Just splatter when you're in doubt usually solves things with watercolor. That's why it's very easy medium to work with.
Yeah, I love the spontaneity.
Yes, I'm kind of creating that background mist, seeing through things, and that kind of almost atmospheric perspective. And then, yeah, I'm just dropping in some darker pigments as well in there as it dries. And you'll see we'll kind of like slowly kind of like bleed in.
Oh, yeah.
And create some nice textures and that kind of stuff. So at this point, and when I go quiet, you know I'm focusing.
Totally.
That's how. So here, I want to keep this like really, really bright. This is probably the brightest green, yellow, lemon yellow. I was trying to make it more yellow, but my brush was dirty, so here we are. And I'm kind of doing some quick marks to create some dry brush as well, because this is where the sun hits the ground. And I'm bleeding.
Do you try
some
to
areas.
avoid lifting? Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
Oh, I said, do you ever lift out some highlights, or do you try to avoid lifting if you can?
Yeah, you can, but it won't be as sharp or nice as, you know, just leaving the paper right there. Or you can go in with gouache or something like that. Some people might boo you, but I don't care about them. I don't know why I added that right now, but it's fine. So I'm being more mindful of lighter bits because I know they're gonna stay that way in the final painting, and I can't really come in with the dark. So sometimes I would just go over things, and even if like some of the darker areas, if I go with lights and it doesn't look right, it's fine. You can kind of recover a lot of that. While it's kind of moist at this stage, I'm adding some, you see, like distant trees and stuff, and creating some branches.
Oh, yeah.
And that right there like creates that effect that, you know, you have those very, very distant trees and some things going on. And to me, that window right there is almost final. Like that's how it will be in the final painting. And so I'm really focused on making sure my values are correct, and you know, the atmosphere and the look of it is nice. And while the paper is moist, I always look for opportunities where I can I drop in some pigments? Can I do something to it? And you know, yeah, like see, like this is kind of soft right now, so I'm thinking I'll add a bit of purple and just let it sit there and bleed, so that later on when we go in, oh, there's like a pond or something here, isn't it? Just adding a bit of green for the pond, leaving the edge. Let's see, is it dry? Yeah. So I'm kind of scraping some branches and stuff. We'll get to those. But at this point, I'm gonna just cover this area. Take a bit more of that lemon yellow and really push the colors. It looks very jarringly bright, and that's because my palette's new. And you can neutralize it, but actually it is that bright, to be honest. Yeah, I'm always pushing it a little bit too, so it's not like
Well, it's easy to add a compliment in over it, and you know, bring the tone back to neutral.
Yeah, and so now that I've added these, I'm also mixing in a bit of the art pigments and letting all that kind of bleed into each other, really. And some of these areas which are drying up, I'm dodging a bit of the highlights around people, but I don't really have to dodge everything. And I'm bringing some of that back here. I'm going to take a bit of this rose madder color, and I think I'm going to add that in here. It will kind of give us that road or whatever it is. And I'm dropping in a little bit into the greens that we have, so it mixes on paper. It will help with making sure the green isn't as on your face, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I like the colors, but I also notice I'm going much more less opaque and more saturated from the background, so it will kind of help bring this forward a bit too. I know there's not much green down here, but I'm gonna at this point just, yeah, this is where we can add a bunch of pigments and kind of keeping it more loose and abstract and that sort of thing, really. Always be thinking of textures.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is really fun to see. In oil, if I try to mix too much on the canvas, it ends up looking a little bit feathery. So you really want to come in with, if you can pre-mix, or you can have some sort of color variations on your palette knife or on your brush, but when you want to let it sit when you apply it. So this is really different, and that's fun to see.
So do you have to be kind of more precise and with your mixing? Yeah. Yeah, but this is kind of like you have to understand the pigment, and then it's also a bit of prediction on, like, you can see when it dries much lighter and faded. If it's not exactly, which you get used to. But also pigments keep working. You can see when I added those reds in there, it was very jarring, but it's still working. It's still slowly mixing on paper. And it will keep doing that until it's completely dry.
Mm-hmm. And your table is angled down a little bit too. I can see it.
Yes.
Going towards the bottom.
Yeah, usually I would, for the demo, I would actually keep it slightly more angled. But because for the demo, I've kind of kept it this way, so it's easier to see. Yeah.
It's got a beautiful sense of light to it.
I'm adding a bit of this stuff here, and I'm leaving some gaps and things here and there just to. And as it goes down, you can also scrape and create some like fallen leaves, branches, whatever. I'm gonna take some Rosina and then splatter some bits here, some bits here. You can also take some pure water and splatter that over here, and that creates this kind of sparkle, and it pushes the pigment away and gives it a bit of life. Also, you can use plain water to then lift, or if you want to, let's say I want to create this bat. When I add that water will kind of push the pigment away, and you can actually use it to draw or do things, that sort of thing. So while this is moist, I'm actually going to also create some darker pigments. So I'm taking maybe some blue, adding some alizarin or something to create that purple. And some yellow to just neutralize that a bit. But you can see this pigment is much thicker and not as watery. So now when I splatter this over here, I have to be more careful. But it will, it looks dark, but it will dry much lighter, and it can suggest a lot of these debris and things on the floor. Anyway, so yeah, that's really like the textures of the foreground.
That looks like a lot of fun.
It is.
It's hard to pull off splatter and oil paint without making it look hokey. So yeah, watercolor is a different story though.
We should try mixing oils and water. It should create some nice textures with the water soluble oils. Have you used those before? Is it any good?
I have not. They tend to tack up a little bit. I mean, there are people who do have great experiences with them, and I have a couple friends who use those exclusively because of health issues surrounding solvents. But I managed to paint solvent-free inside just by using using paints that have good tube consistency, and then I use walnut oil as a medium inside. you have to be mindful of not using it really fluidly in early stages because it can be a problem for the adhesion of the paint layers. But you can, as long as you're keeping the amount low, it's a great
fine.
medium.
Yeah.
I like that it dries slowly too because it gives you a lot of working time. And
I should add some to my watercolors.
throw in some walnut oil and see what happens.
Yeah, this is like on a timer. Oh, that reminds me. What's the timer? I didn't even.
Yeah, we are. Let me check. We are about 30 minutes in. So yeah, we have 15 to 20 more minutes.
Okay. I got too relaxed.
Oh, no such thing. You can always post the finished one later. It's even better that way. So everybody watching, be sure and follow Harsh on Instagram. It's at Harsh2Art, and you can also visit his website. And that's 𝗟𝘂𝗺𝗏.com. So yeah, follow him, and maybe he can post the finished version for you to see.
Let's see if it's. Yeah, I'll try to post it. Need to get better at that. Thanks for the plug.
Oh, of course. Do you have anything coming up that you'd like to share about with folks?
I'm just going to, what am I doing? I'm going to Plein Air Easton. But yeah, there's some cool things that we're planning. I know we're planning something too, Kathleen, together. So, I guess best is to kind of sign up to our newsletters. You can follow me and Kathleen and everyone so that we'll keep you posted on.
That's right. Harsh has had a great idea, and I think the launch is coming up, so it's something that folks can follow
something
you, hear
exciting
about.
coming up, but we haven't officially launched yet. But I'm excited for it. It's something. Yeah. So okay. I'm gonna rush on this so that I can show you some interesting bits. So one way to rush is to kind of just do that and drop in some bits, drop in more pigments. Yeah, I'm still not used to this new palette yet. My hand naturally goes to other pigments which I'm used to. I've kind of reorganized my palette a bit. And here it's better.
It was a fun adventure mixing things up like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's really fun though. I know you got some watercolor sets ordered.
I did. I laid everything out in the palette, and I have yet to actually do another painting because I had so many deadlines coming up for shows. So that tends to happen. I get inundated with stuff, so I can't. It's hard to branch out and give yourself time to to play around, but it's so necessary. So for those of you watching at home, give yourself time to play around.
Mark it in your calendar. Just keep some time for yourself.
Yes, it's so essential.
Yeah, exactly. Need to do more of that, to be honest. Here I'm just quickly adding some darks, and that cuts through the. So when I do this tree here, sometimes what I would do is I would kind of create the trunk with slightly thicker pigments. And I'm going to go darker, like purple on the bottom, so it looks kind of more grounded, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm really trying to get the gesture of the tree. And then I would scrape some areas like that, you see?
Oh.
And then you can continue the branch on this side like that, and you see I'm holding my brush very vertically, but it will give that impression of branches kind of cutting through, and it has more energy than me trying to draw the exact branch. So with trees it's always you need to study the character of each tree and how the branches and stuff are drooping and coming out of it and that sort of thing. So I would do the same here, like if I have a branch coming in, keep sort of scraping down. But anyway, that's a little...
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, that's a money tip.
Mini tip, yeah.
That's amazing.
And
my approach would have been to, go in and carefully paint shadows and then try to lift out highlights or come in with like a gouache on the left. But that way has so much more life.
Yeah, I've tried like
effective.
I mean, you could, that's also like a good way to control, give it, you also want to think of the volume, the shape, and not make it too flat and that sort of thing. But something like this is where I'm imagining myself in a park doing a quick sketch. Actually, fun fact, I was painting here with one of my watercolor friends, Barbara Tapp. She was over in Kew Gardens, and we were painting right behind this tree, actually, sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was morning time. We got our coffee and we got a cinnamon roll, and we sat down. This fox came in and stole the cinnamon roll bag and ran into the bushes. And after 5 minutes, comes back and is eating in front of us, laughing while we paint, hungry.
It was mocking you.
Yeah, reminding us of the hungry artist.
Oh man, I gotta love the interactions you have with wildlife. But that's the first one. I've never heard of a fox stealing somebody's breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, they must.
I had a seagull steal my lunch once. That was in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think foxes here are like raccoons in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's very much. Okay, I'll just do shadows and some of the people. So for shadows here, I think I'll just mix like a quick large batch of purple and also blue. So in the middle one here, I usually mix more sort of reddish purplish tints. Oh, not tints, sorry, hues. I know tint is used as a different term in oil world. We just use water to create tints here. Oh, that was way too intense, the alizarin crimson. I hate that color. So
I took it off my palette in oil. I just use magenta now.
Yeah, I like this rose madder. I'm gonna remove alizarin actually. That's another tip, remove alizarin.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what I found is that it has a little bit of a warm, kind of a brown note to it relative to magenta, but I can add that in by using a transparent red oxide, so it's not really something I miss.
100%. So here you can see the shadow color that I'm mixing is almost very gray in nature, and I'm slowly tweaking as I go. And then I would like to test that over here. Also taking some of this mix of shadow and putting it into the greens here. And then when I do this, I'm working very transparently for the shadows. And while this is moist, I'm also touching it in some areas so it bleeds into the shade.
Yeah.
And it creates some nice, creating more horizontal, thinner lines in the back here. Oh, let's not forget our
got our
geese and maybe some shadows for these people. And then, we'll add the people in. I don't want to do too much shadows here on this side of the paper. And you can just sort of flick your brush really quick over here, and you can connect your shadows as well. I'm going much thinner. You can see it's very watery consistency, because I want to show through some of those under layers where we created the texture. And then you can add some water to soften the edges.
It's amazing how much these shadows are giving it dimension.
Yeah. Usually with the paint, it's like first 60% is boring to watch. I should have done that first.
No, I think it's really great for people to see too, because that's,
Yeah.
I think
behind
sometimes
the
when
scenes.
folks are in that stage, they get, they get discouraged because it doesn't look like much yet. But it's all a process.
Exactly. So here I'm just gonna drop a lot of this paint. Blues, some purples, some greens. And I sprayed, I sprayed some water here, so you can see kind of creates these nice softer edges and things like that. And I will leave some area. I'm thinking if I should just connect these, because I was debating about that tree here, if you remember.
That's right.
I wasn't sure, but I think we can connect it, and assuming the tree's on this side of the paper, sometimes it's good to not be literal with your story and kind of.
It almost feels like you're standing under a tree in shadow, which
exactly.
on a hot day would be a nice place to to set up.
Yeah. And putting some of these in here. Again, softening some areas, leaving some areas dark. You can see more blue and purple on the bottom and more sort of greenish on the top. Yeah, very, very, very thin and transparent dappled shadows. And then I'm using this spray bottle just to give it a bit of softer edge. Mixing some yellow in there. I'm thinking of, some of these things, even though it's so soft, you can probably add some sharper bits here and there as well, just to make it feel more connected. Much thinner lines in the distance. Maybe there's some distant people, some dots and dashes. You can use those. Cutting through, and evaluating.
This really glows.
Luminous. So, and you know what? Oh yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, that's why. See, I do this thing where when I start with the brush, I keep forgetting to change my brushes. This is the brush I was talking about, which is like
a Chinese brush.
Yeah, but what they have, traditional Chinese brush is really soft bristles, and what they have done is done like a nice mix of soft bristles, but also some more Western style, slightly more spring to it. So it has more spring to it, but the beauty is you can actually, so when I'm taking any kind of paint, it's very like I can, for example, like this, I can create like a whole block or that kind of pattern right there, right? Or I can shape it into something really thin. And then now when I'm using it, I'm creating these amazingly thin branches. Or I can do a really thick flat wash. So honestly, you don't really need any other brush. You could do the entire painting with just this one little brush, and it'll be okay, honestly. Yeah.
And does that one show up in your workshop supply list somewhere if folks are interested in learning about it?
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I will add it to the list. I just got given this by this brand, and it's like a revelation. So I'm still getting used to it, really. Yeah. It does hold a lot of water, which is nice. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like for the I guess. I'm also taking some of these really, really darks, and then what I would do is I'm gonna just create some of the these people, like you can see the very, very gesturally. I'm just, I can add.
Look at the sense of light and shadow, though.
Yeah, and you can connect some of these shapes, give them backpacks or hair if you like, or bald, up to you. And taking some red, I think that will pop amongst the green, you know, for the focus, for the backpack. Can give it some straps and things. So now it looks like a person with a backpack. And taking some of the kind of like a skin color, putting that there, merging some of this. That geese kind of got lost in the
casualty of the wash, huh?
Yeah, casualty of the wash indeed. But you know, I'm not gonna, you know. But at this point, I would probably, you can spend some time into your focal points, detailing some of those things. But when you're out there and like, yeah, right. It's like a couple of lines can do a lot, so you have to, you know. I always try to maximize each brush stroke as much as I can. Then this is still wet, so you can probably splatter some of these. I also use these tools to scrape out some areas and create some, you know, like up close to the foreground, you can do these sort of things.
Oh yeah.
And so it looks like some whatever like is on the ground, you can scrape like that. And when you do that, it automatically creates shadows as well. So it looks like tiny pebbles with shadows. That's I'm very lazy, so you know, as much as I can get done quickly.
You're efficient,
without
not
having
lazy.
to paint. Yeah. But anyway, I think how are we doing for time? Because I don't want to overstate.
Go ahead and wrap it up. We're at
okay.
47 minutes, and that's perfect. But
yeah.
Is there anything going forward? Like, what would you plan to do to bring this to a finish? Would it just be a matter of
I would have done more sort of, more kind of polished, like within that value range. I would add some like maybe like a shrubbery and this thing, whatever I did there to show you the brush. But you know, I can add some of these kind of verticals in the distance, maybe this person right here, you know, sitting and reading like a book underneath, and more sort of like things to polish it. And but for a sketch, I mean, if I'm on the go getting an idea and like trying to just capture kind of the mood of the place, I think something like this is already fine, because I can refer to it and still get a feeling for the atmosphere and all that. And then I would come in with some darks like dry brush and really enhance some of the areas. But I think for the demo, I just really wanted to show you kind of how, you know, if you look at this reference, there's a lot going on. There's this chair, the pond, and all this, and I was just trying to capture my story of the place and what I'm interested in, also keeping it very luminous. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna actually, I'm not trying to do like a painting or something like that. It's more like a quick sketch for demo, so we'll just leave it at this, to be honest.
Yes, well, thank you so much. This is beautiful. I want to point out the worms on that Harsh has on the tree trunks too, because that's something that you see in person that you don't necessarily see in reference photos.
Right.
Is that bounce, you know, the reflected light. But on a really warm day, if there's a lot of sunlight hitting the grass, it will bounce up and you know, put these beautiful reflected lights on the trees.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You captured that beautifully.
You know, thank you. Yeah, I'll switch to the other cam.
Sure thing. And yeah, everybody, be sure and follow Harsh on Instagram. It's at Harsh2Art, and go to his website, because he does have a really exciting announcement about some new. I guess, how do you describe it? Is it a collective?
Yeah, I mean, it's just artists having fun, really, isn't it? So,
but
going
it should
places
be really fun
and
for
painting.
folks to follow.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. And I know it was pretty last minute, so we just did the I think we covered the topic where I really wanted to sort of say how you should use just photo as a photo, and while doing watercolor, you can actually be much more fluid and work transparent to create that luminosity and light. That's something
Yes.
we all admire in watercolors, right? All our favorite artists, from Sargent to 𝗪𝗁 to everyone. I mean, the luminosity is what attracts me to it, at least, and that sense of light. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for joining us. This was a treat.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So yes, as I said, be sure and follow Harsh, and you'll be able to see his work. Hopefully he can, he'll post a picture of that sketch that he just did, and then you'll be able to find out more about what he has in store. He's getting ready to launch something that should be pretty exciting for those of you who like to follow artists, hear about their travels, and see artists in action. Also, if you would like to, you can follow me. I'm at Kathleen B. Hudson, and that's on Instagram. And then my website is kathleenbhudson.com. I also have a gift for you. You can download a free ebook, and it is 10 simple tips to master the use of watercolor. Go to americanwatercolor.net/ebook. Next, if you haven't signed up for Gouache Live, it's time to do that. Main tickets start at only $47. And on August 23rd of this year, you will have an incredible lineup of instructors who will teach you about gouache painting. You really don't want to miss it. You can sign up at gouachelive.com. Finally, let's check in on Eric, and we'll see what he's up to. Where in the world is Eric Rhodes?
Hey guys, we're in the south of China, and to celebrate the 4th of July, because we're ahead of you, we painted all day today. We painted out in some incredible, beautiful scenery. We're in the mountains in the south of China, and now we're having our 4th of July dinner. So everybody say Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. Okay, so these are the mostly English-speaking group of people, and the Chinese group of people are in the back of the restaurant at another table. But we have people Why don't you guys say where you're from?
We are from Russia.
Russia?
America.
We're from Australia.
Australia.
America.
Moldova.
America.
And we all just want to say Happy 4th of July, and we miss you, and we're moving on. We got 3 more days here, then we're moving on to Shanghai, and then we're home. See you. Happy 4th.
Thank you, Eric. Everyone, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's at Art School Live on YouTube, and then at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. I really appreciate you all joining us this week as I've guest hosted, and happy 4th of July. Go out and celebrate, and hopefully bring the paints with you. Thank you.